She told her student that people like them would never make it. Years later, that same student became the woman signing her paycheck. The golden light of late afternoon spilled through the cracked classroom windows, painting the faded walls in a warm, forgiving glow. Dust floated lazily in the air, dancing between rows of wooden desks, where restless children fidgeted with their pencils. Mrs. Hargrove, a woman with tired eyes and a sharp voice, shuffled a stack of essays, each titled, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" At the back of the room sat Amara, a quiet black girl with a halo of soft curls and eyes that held a strange mixture of fear and fire. Her uniform was neatly pressed, her notebook spotless, every line written with care, as if the act of writing itself was sacred. When Mrs. Hargrove called her name, Amara rose slowly, clutching her paper with trembling hands. Her voice quivered at first, then steadied as she began to read. "I want to be a businesswoman," she said softly, "who builds schools for children who can't afford them, so no one ever feels small or unwanted." For a moment, the classroom went silent. The late sunlight touched her face, turning her determination into something almost luminous, fragile but unbreakable. Mrs. Hargrove's lips curved into a strained smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Then came a laugh, short, sharp, cutting through the hush of the classroom like the crack of a ruler. The sound bounced off the walls, followed by a few nervous giggles from the students who weren't sure whether to laugh or stay quiet. "Sweetheart," Mrs. Hargrove said, still smirking, "that's adorable, but maybe start with something realistic. You can't just build schools. People like us don't get to do that." Her words hung in the air, sweetened with false kindness, poisoned with disbelief. Amara's fingers tightened around the edge of her paper until it wrinkled. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor, and never be seen again. The laughter from her classmates stung like tiny needles, each one a reminder that dreams in this room were meant to be small. She sat down quietly, her heart thudding in her chest, cheeks burning with humiliation. Outside, the sunlight flickered across her notebook, blurring the words she'd written with such hope. And as she stared at them, something within her shifted. Not anger, not defiance, but a calm, unshakable vow. She would remember this moment. She would prove them all wrong. Years had slipped away like pages torn from a book. The old classroom was gone, replaced by sleek glass panels and polished floors that gleamed under fluorescent light. A new school had risen, modern, alive, filled with promise. The scent of fresh paint lingered in the air as teachers hurried through the hallways, fixing decorations and whispering about the important visitor arriving that day. Mrs. Hargrove moved slower now. Her hair, once chestnut, had turned the color of winter frost. The years had softened her voice, but deepened the lines of regret around her mouth. She adjusted her blouse in the reflection of a glass door, practicing a polite smile. After all, meeting the director of the foundation funding their school's expansion was no small thing. Then came the sound, heels striking the tiled floor in steady rhythm. Confident, graceful, familiar in a way that tugged at something deep inside her. The door opened. A woman stepped in, tall, poised, draped in quiet authority. Her eyes, bright and steady, carried a fire that hadn't dimmed with time. "Good afternoon," she said with warmth. "I'm Amara Lewis, founder of the Horizon Education Fund." Mrs. Hargrove froze. Her smile faltered, her breath caught. The air itself seemed to still. Amara moved through the classroom with quiet grace, her heels clicking softly against the polished floor. Sunlight filtered through the tall windows, bathing everything in a pale gold glow. She reached out and let her fingers glide over the smooth wooden desks, the same kind she'd once leaned on as a timid girl with a trembling voice and a dream too big for that small room. Her touch lingered on one desk, and a faint smile crossed her lips. "This room brings back memories," she said gently, her voice steady but distant. "I once told my teacher I wanted to build schools." She paused, turning slowly to face Mrs. Hargrove. Their eyes met, one pair uncertain and fading, the other filled with calm fire. She told me it was impossible. Mrs. Hargrove's lips parted, but no words came out. Her throat tightened as if time itself had circled back to mock her silence. Amara's expression softened, but there was power in her composure, a quiet authority that needed no arrogance, no revenge. "Funny thing about dreams," she said, her tone almost kind. "They don't need permission to grow." The room fell silent again. Only the ticking clock dared to move, counting the heartbeat of a moment that had finally come full circle. For a long moment, silence hung between them, heavy but not hostile. Then, Amara smiled, a calm, genuine curve of her lips that softened the tension in the air. "Mrs. Hargrove," she began, her tone warm and steady, "we're offering you a position in our mentorship program for teachers. You'll help guide others to nurture, rather than crush, children's potential." The words seemed to float through the room, settling gently like dust in sunlight. Mrs. Hargrove blinked, unsure if she had heard correctly. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Her heart pounded against her ribs, a mix of disbelief and shame. She had braced herself for humiliation, for the punishment she perhaps deserved, but not this, not grace. Tears welled in her tired eyes as her gaze fell to the polished floor. "You would trust me, after all that," she whispered. Amara took a step closer and extended her hand, her eyes kind but unwavering. "Everyone deserves a second chance," she said softly. "That's what education is for." Mrs. Hargrove's voice trembled as she took Amara's hand, her tears spilling freely now. In that simple gesture, forgiveness replaced judgment, and a lesson long overdue was finally learned. Amara stepped out of the classroom, her heels echoing softly against the hallway floor. The air outside was warm, painted in shades of gold and amber, the same light that had once filtered through the cracked windows of her childhood classroom. Only now, it touched her differently. The sun no longer watched a timid girl with trembling hands, but a woman who had turned her pain into purpose. She paused on the steps, taking in the sight before her, the new school building standing proud, its fresh walls gleaming beneath the sun. Laughter drifted from somewhere nearby, children running, dreaming, believing. It was the sound of hope rebuilt. As she walked past the school sign, the engraved letters caught the light. Horizon Academy. In partnership with the Horizon Education Fund beneath it, in smaller print, her name, founder, Amara Lewis. The camera lingered on her silhouette, strong, composed, radiant. The same sunlight that once bore witness to her humiliation now crowned her in quiet triumph. Sometimes, the ones who doubt you are the architects of your determination. True success isn't about proving them wrong, it's about building something right. And with that, Amara walked forward, into the golden light of her own becoming. Never let someone else's disbelief define your potential. The best revenge is success and compassion.